All right, and episode 3, titled The Burning Mill, opens with a confrontation between some Blackwood and Bracken men. Each house declared for a different side. You have Team Blackwood, which declared for Team Black, and the Brackens declared for Team Green. So we have these houses have been in feud for a long time, and the original cause of why both houses hate each other has been long forgotten. So they're always fighting, but this confrontation started because the territory bordering Bracken and Blackwood territory. Yeah, so they moved the Blackens. The Blackwood accused the Brackens of moving the border stones further into their territory, and they said they didn't. So this kicked off an argument, and one of the guy from Bracken called the Blackwood Babe Killers because they are on Team Black, and this is after the assassination of Aegon's young son. So this kicked off a major battle, and we skipped to the aftermath of that battle, where you can see a lot of Bracken and Blackwood bodies and the burning mill in the background.
These two teams don't even know what they are fighting for. They are just on opposite side, and it's an ongoing battle from way back when. They themselves don't even know what is the cause of the war, because the war has been coming down from ancestors.
And in this episode, we also see Rhaenyra burying Eric and Eric after their showdown in episode 2. And
The twins, they are twin, and they have both chosen different side, one for black and one for green.
while they're burying the twins, Rhaenys gave Rhaenyra some advice where she's seeking some way to peacefully resolve the war before it goes to, dragon fighting and fire and burning. So she advises her to speak to Alicent because Alicent seems reasonable. Rhaenyra at first rejected the idea because, she hasn't answered any of Alicent's letters, and Alicent was a key part of usurping her throne. But we'll see that later in the episode that she took Rhaenys' advice.
Kristen Cole was chosen as Anne of the King, which is a shock and a surprise to everyone because Coles know nothing about that position that he is being after. He himself was also shocked.
So episode 3, we have Kristen Cole's first day as under the king, and you can see that he's overwhelmed and he doesn't know really what he is to do. We start the episode with him passing Aegon's newly appointed friends in the Kingsguard, and we can see that these are the regular Kingsguard. They lack the discipline because when Cole passes them, they're sitting down, slouching, stuff that the Kingsguard should not be doing. And he sort of just ignores them and goes about his meeting to join with the small council.
With the war approaching, Rhaenyra has sent her younger kids to the Vale for safety. And the person she chose was Rhaena. Because Rhaena had no dragon, so she couldn't take part in the war. So Rhaenyra entrusted the children to her.
And Rhaena was unhappy with this decision because she wanted to be more active in the war, just like her sister Baela. But unlike Baela and Jacaerys, she is the only one without a dragon, and we've learned that the dragons on Dragonstone have already rejected her, so there's no dragon there for her to claim. But Baela spoke to her and, showed her how important this mission was because she was not only interested with the kids, but also the future House Targaryen because they sent her with the eggs and the young dragons. but still she found the mission to be insulting. So after the event with the killing of, of Aegon's son, Daemon and Rhaenyra had an argument, and Daemon decided to go and claim Harrenhal. At first, he was expecting some resistance, but there wasn't any, and the Castellan quickly surrendered the castle to him. So there was no fighting to be done.
Rhaenyra Council wanted to put forward their own decision, so they are trying to get her to opt out of the war, the decision making, but they are making it seem as it is for our own safety.
Aegon is putting on the Conqueror's armor and is trying to be a part of the war efforts to join Criston Cole in, claiming the territories that currently belong to the Black. But Loras went to him and managed to talk him down from joining the war efforts directly. Right. In this episode, we also meet another small folk. This one goes by the name of Ulf, and he's in the bar, bragging about being a Targaryen bastard and, declaring Rhaenyra as the true queen, drinking and having a good time with his bar friends. At the same time, Aegon and his new Kingsguard, along with the young squire, comes into the room. All right, after drinking with the new squire and the Kingsguard men, Aegon brings them to a brothel, which was one that he used to frequently visit, and there he finds Aemon, and he takes the opportunity to sort of mock and belittle Aemon, and we see that Aemon is playing it off, and he just gets up and leave.
Baela was tasked with watching King's Landing to see any movements that is taking place. Lo and behold, there was Cole and Gwen with a small amount of gathering. Baela then chased them with Moondancer into the forest. She stopped their movement by chasing them with Moondancer. They were so scared because they didn't expect a dragon to be that close to them.
This is also the time when Daemon starts the long series of visions that he has during his entire sequence this season in Harrenhal. The first being with younger Rhaenyra, and she was stitching together Jacaerys' head. And we see that Daemon is losing track of time. He is not aware of where or when he is, and his scenes goes from like vision to him being in meetings, and he's just completely zoning out of it.
Rhaenyra, the episode 3 ending with Rhaenyra going to King's Landing to have a face-to-face with Alicent to see if they could both come to an agreement for peace. That was when Alicent told Rhaenyra that her father has changed his mind on his deathbed and chose Aegon to be his successor. But that was not true, because during this conversation, Rhaenyra finds out that her father was talking about the prophecy which is to come, and that was what confused Alicent. So Rhaenyra left King's Landing knowing that her father did not replace her as the true heir to the throne, while Alicent is left in doubt because she now realizes she made a mistake, but she decided not to turn back.
Right, episode 4 starts with Corlys speaking to Aelin about saving his life when they were having the battle in the Stepstones. So this scene takes place at Driftmark. In the same time, when we revisit Daemon at Harrenhal, we see that his visions are continuing, and he has a meeting that is scheduled with Lord Grover, but instead of Lord Grover, we meet his grandson, Oscar, because Lord Grover is bedridden and cannot make the journey. But Oscar Tully does not have the power to gather the Riverman. That still is in Lord Grover's hands. And we get Damon subtly suggesting that Oscar takes Lord Grover's life so that he can speed up his inheritance. Because currently, Lord Grover is the only one that can unite the Rivermen to help with the war effort.
Rhaenys was telling her husband Corlys to reward Alan because Alan saved his life. So Rhaenys think he should be rewarded for that. Baela also asks Rhaenys to return to Dragonstone because the council was getting restless because of Rhaenyra's absence. Rhaenyra has not returned from King's
Alright, my
Landing.
favorite scene from the episode was Kristen Cole's first day as Hand of the King. Alright, so we see Cole coming in completely, unprepared for this role, and he passes the new Kingsguard that Aegon appointed, which are some of his, lackeys and friends from the previous episode that he was drinking with. And we can see that these guys are not the usual Kingsguard standard because we see them slouching, sitting, and stuff that you generally don't see Kingsguard people do. But the best part about it was in the Green Council meeting, which Cole was late for. And, everybody is sort of just bringing up his mistake of sending Arik against Rhaenyra. And a lot of the council members are disagreeing with the plan to directly march towards the Harrenhal without the Hightower and Lannister reinforcements. So, while Cole was elected by Aegon, it's clear that, the council needs someone clever like Otto for the discussions to be productive.
The best scene for me in episode 4 was the fight between Meleys and Sunfire. Sunfire was so beaten. Sunfire didn't even stand a chance against Meleys.
I think my favorite scene from episode 4 was the lead up to the dance. So when we had Rhaenyra talking to Jace about the prophecy, about the song of Ice and Fire. So during that monologue, while she's telling Jace about their duty and that this war is more than just who sits on the throne and that they have a greater purpose. So during that time, we see Rhaenys getting ready. So she putting on her armor. She's going to greet Meleys, and at the same time, in King's Landing, we see Aegon drunkenly putting on his armor and greeting Sunfire. So that part I really liked. The overlapping the monologue with those scenes, it was really well done.
For me, the most important decision for Team Black was to send in Rhaenys as a backup. Even though it cost her death, but she fight to the end for Team Black. She died a brave warrior.
I think the best decision that Team Green made in this episode was actually setting the trap at Rook's Rest. So while everybody was wondering why marching to Rook's Rest instead of Harrenhal, but we can see that Kristen and Aemon had their plan in place to sort of lure a dragon rider as backup and then having Vhagar eliminate that person from the board. But, it was a fairly good plan, but then Aegon flew out and sort of threw a wrench in it.
So in the war now, I think Team Green is in the lead because they got rid of Meleys and Rhaenys, and that is a big loss for Team Black, I would say. And you?
Yeah, I'll agree that Team Green is in the lead after episode 4 because they got rid of the biggest dragon for Team Black. And even though Aegon is injured from the whole fight, I still think Team Black came away with more losses because they lost a dragon and a dragon rider, and they did lose Rook's Rest because when Meleys crashed on the castle. It was breached, and then Gwen took the castle. So definitely Team Green in the lead after episode 4. And episode 5 is titled Regen. This is after the aftermath of the Battle of Rook's Rest. So we see various characters mourning the death of Rhaenys, and we see Team Green, choosing to pick a regent to rule in Aegon's place, because at this point Aegon is unconscious from his injuries in the battle, and they are not even sure that he's going to wake up.
My favorite scene from episode 5 would be the conversation between Baela and Corlys. Because Rhaenyra has asked her to ask Corlys to be her hand, and Corlys was kind of hesitating, and Baela was pointing out the reasons and why he should take it, and that is what Rhaenys would have wanted.
From episode 5, the best scene for me was the Green Council meeting when they're selecting regent, when Alicent puts forward herself as a candidate but gets rejected, even by people on the council that she considers her allies, like Loris and Kristen. Kristen says it has to be Aemon because he's next in line, and Loris points out that a large part of their campaign against Rhaenyra was the fact that she's a woman, and it would look away to raise up a woman instead on their side. So he also says that the right person for the job has to be Aemon.
The best decision in episode 5 for Team Black would be Rhaenyra choosing to pick Corlys for her, and she couldn't have chosen a better person.
For Team Green, I think the best decision they made was choosing a regent quickly, because currently Aegon is incapacitated and they need someone to be the head of their campaign. So choosing Aemon, who is next in line, was a good choice. In my opinion, I think Team Green is still in the lead at the end of episode 5, but mostly not because of what they gained this episode, but mostly what Team Black loses are some of the decisions made by members of Team Black. For example, we have Daemon, who gave William Blackwood the permission to go out and do some horrible things in the Riverlands. So that resulted in the Lords of the Riverlands not wanting to side with him. So that was a big loss for Team Black.
At this point, I would still say Team Green is in the lead in the war so far.
And episode 6 is titled Small Folk, and now we see the decision that Rhaenyra has come to from last episode, when Jay suggested that they try to find other highborns with Targaryen blood to ride the dragons, the unclaimed dragons that they have at Dragonstone. I think for me, my favorite scene from this episode is probably the small riot that happens when Elena and Alicent were coming from the Sept. This has been building throughout the season. We've seen the blockade and the effect it has had on the people of King's Landing. The small folk are hungry and they're starving. And in this episode, Rhaenyra sent food. So, trying to win over the people's opinion. So this was Mysaria's plan. And we see the effect where, the small folks are angry at the Greens for the lack of food, and then we see the rumors being spread. So honestly, Alicent needs to stop bringing Elena outside of the Red Keep, because every time she take the girl out of the castle, some form of riot or something threaten the girl life. She really need to just leave the girl alone.
Favorite scene would be Sea Smoke choosing Adam to be his rider. Sea Smoke was actually at Dragonstone and Adam was at Driftmark. Sea Smoke got tired of people coming to look to be his rider, Sea Smoke left Dragonstone and went straight to Driftmark in search of Adam. Sea Smoke was actually running down. He was flying, but I would say like running down Adam to be his rider. Adam was running from Sea Smoke, and Sea Smoke was determined to have Adam as its rider. That was the best scene for me.
I think for Team Green, the most important decision from episode 3, I would go with Laris speaking to Aegon after he woke up, talking to him about how his life will now be changed and different because of his injury, because of the injuries that he sustained during the fight. I think this was a part, one, Laris sympathizing with Aegon because he's now essentially crippled as well, and part because he realized that he will not get anywhere with Aemon, so he still has to stick to Aegon and try to restore him as the ruler.
The best decision for Team Black in this episode would be trying to find riders for the unclaimed dragons. I would say Team Black would be in the lead now because they have gained a dragon in this episode. My favorite scene for episode 7 is Vermator choosing his rider.
Alright, for episode 7, I think my favorite scene was Ulf riding Silverwing over King's Landing. Right, because after all the season of bragging, it was like, the drunk friend will always have these wild claims that you don't really believe. And then to see him flying over King's Landing with the dragon. So I think that one was definitely my favorite. From I guess you can say Silverwing choosing him and his flight over King's Landing. I don't know, Team Green didn't really make a lot of big political decisions this episode, but I guess I'd say the best decision was not bringing the rumors or Sea Smoke getting a rider to Aemon, because during that scene we see that he's sending the incompetent Kingsguard to the Black, and because neither Laris or the other council member could verify if the rumors were true, they just decided not to bring it up at all.
For me, the best decision Team Black has ever made for this episode was allowing common folks to try their claims to the dragon, which we can see is working out so far. In my opinion, I would say Black is in the lead because they have gained 3 dragons.
Yeah, I'd agree that after episode 7, Team Black is in the lead because they gained 3 new dragon riders. So the 3 unclaimed dragons are now claimed, and Vermator being the second largest dragon was a big success for them. So now that they have Vermator, Silverwing, and Sea Smoke, they have more dragons and more dragon riders than Team Green. And we can see that when Aemon realizes that he has to turn back after chasing Silverwing to Dragonstone.